Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the three chairs, it is an honor to hear you. I didn't have the pleasure of serving with any of you, but you've touched upon subjects that are very dear to me. I represent the first Congressional District of Hawaii, so you can imagine how important the Pacific Theater is to me and what's going on. And one of the topics that I've been following very carefully, of course, is China. So if I can begin with Chair Hunter, you've said many things, and I wish I had more time, but given the time limitation, I want to concentrate on certain portions of it. I agree with you that we need to be that great industrial nation that we were, and the statement made at World War II about the fact that America is going to win. And I think the other comment that was made was that it is the sleeping giant, and it is something that everyone knows. Yet we seem to have lost that edge, if we can call it that. I also was listening very carefully to your statements regarding how China's Navy may build, and we know that they're putting a lot of money in their military. But more important than that, your emphasis on the use of ballistic missiles on their part to take out our naval force. Trying to put all of that together, I guess my fundamental question is, so what do we do? I mean, we do know that we need to, I believe, keep up our research and development. That's going to be very critical. We need to be able to counter that, because I can't see us not having a force because of the fact that we need that force, because we are what really protects, as Senator Warner talks about us, going back to the concept that we are an island nation. So you can imagine we are an island state, so I can identify that. So how do we do this? How do we build up our industry, then also protect our naval fleet in the Pacific, which is critical because we are what I believe holds the peace in the Pacific and protects the rest of this nation, because that is the theater. So there's so many things in what all of you said, but I'd like to understand what you think is where we go. And you know, I will also tell you one of the issues we always face, especially in Hawaii, is how do we preserve shipbuilding, the Jones Act, for example, and the fact that people forget that it was part of the Merchant Marine Statute. And how do we do all of that? What's your recommendation?
Well, thank you very much for that question, and congratulations on representing a wonderful part of the world in the United States. There's two aspects to your question. One is how do we offset what I see as a coming dominance of the Western Pacific by China, and the second question is how do we get that industrial base back, as I understand it. Let me just take the first part, that first question. There are four categories. The Chinese plan, strategy, it appears to me, in looking at their development programs that are being developed and fielded right now, is heavily reliant on missiles. About 1,000 mid-range ballistic missiles now poised around the Taiwan Straits, approximately 100 a year being developed, and extremely critical to our Navy's plans right now is the anti-ship ballistic missile. That is a ballistic missile that can travel 600, 700, 800 miles with an anti-ship guidance system. Toward the end of its flight, as it comes in toward an aircraft carrier, it has a secondary guidance system that allows it to adjust and maneuver until it hits that carrier. An aircraft carrier has 5,000 Americans on board. The killing of an American aircraft carrier is devastating in any type of a scenario. You stop missiles with missile defense. Now, one thing this committee did, incidentally, years ago, is when we started doing theater missile defense systems. That was systems that could shoot down short-range ballistic missiles. We insisted in this committee and wrote it into language that they had to start fielding those on ships. That became the Aegis defense system that we have now fielded. That's the ability to shoot down what I would call moderate speed missiles. You have to have the ability to shoot down fast missiles. That is a missile that comes from a long range and re-enters with high speed. There's a secondary class of missiles, and that's cruise missiles. And some of them are maneuverable. That is, they jink around like a running back running down to a goal line as they come in toward the ship they're intended to kill, and they're hard to shoot down. So having an ability to shoot down missiles, missile defense, is critical to maintaining the dominant presence in the Western Pacific. And it's going to be expensive, and as John said, you make mistakes, and you spend money, and you have to go back and keep at it until you get a system that works. It's expensive. You can't do that under this budget. So missile defense is a critical aspect. Submarines. Submarines are the leverage system of the United States Navy. With the submarines at times in our history have sunk hundreds of boats, single submarines, hundreds of cargo ships, and the reliance on the Pacific Rim of those sea lanes that pull in 50, 60, 70, 80% of their petroleum products, including our allies, is a very strong one, and one that could be very much threatened by a submarine system. Our submarines are the best in the world. There's not many of them. We're going to go down below, even without these cuts, we will go below 50 attack submarines. And the smart people that I know, that I know John knows and Ike know too, in the submarine areas tell us it would be best if we had close to 100 attack submarines, which we used to have. We're going to go down much lower. Submarines are expensive. We are not going to be able to build the submarine fleet that we need with these cuts. So submarines is the second aspect of defending the Western Pacific. Space. If we can be blinded successfully, the entire forward projection apparatus of the United States Navy is devastated if we can be blinded in space, because so much of what we do depends on a space apparatus. You have to be able to do two things. One, defend the assets that you've got that are sending those signals that make your equipment and your weapons operate, and the other is to take out the other guy's stuff so that when his missile is coming in on your aircraft carrier, you can turn off his missile and make it go dumb. So having a strong position in space, winning the space competition, is a key to the Western Pacific. And I might say lots of other military operations. That's the third one. The fourth one is having an enduring strike program. That is the ability to shoot and shoot and shoot again, meaning we have to have our own capability to launch ship-to-ship missiles, ship-to-shore missiles, and be able to maintain that, and incidentally maintain those defenses that I talked about for long periods of time, not just to handle one missile or two missiles, but salvos of missiles. That's very expensive. Being able to put that infrastructure in place that allows a carrier battle group to defend itself for days against sporadic missile attacks, very expensive and something that's going to require more development. Those are four areas that are necessary for the Western Pacific. And lastly, the industrial base, I think we've got to bring it back. We see more and more American companies going to China, taking huge pieces of our employment and our technology with them because they feel they have to. I think we should put tariffs on Chinese goods, fairly strong tariffs in the national interest, so that Americans over here, so that when a businessman sits at his table and he's told that he can jettison his American workers who are getting $22 an hour in return for folks that'll work for $22 a day, roughly 1/10 of the labor costs. He says there are other considerations. The only thing that is real is a tariff, meaning it's going to cost money to bring those products back to the people that pull the train, which is the American consumer. We also need to punish this manipulation of the yuan, or their currency, which gives them an advantage, and the VAT tax, meaning if this microphone costs $100 and it's made in China, when it goes down to the docks to be sent to the United States to be sold to you, the Chinese government rebates all their tax money, 17% VAT. That takes their cost down from $100 to $83. If you make this microphone for $100 here and send it there, the Chinese government gives you a $17 penalty when you get to the docks. That means yours just went, they both started at 100. Yours went to 117 when the consumer gets it. Theirs went to 83. You have a 34-point advantage before the opening kickoff in this football game called international trade competition. That's bad business. We should change that. We should retrieve the American industrial base, and with it we'll retrieve a part of our defense capability which we have lost, which is the ability to mobilize and to build things quickly and effectively that we use for national security.
May I say to the distinguished member from Hawaii, Mr. Hunter has covered quite well the question you've had. I just wish to note that I am privileged to be a part of the group that is trying to work to build the museums at Ford Island and restore the tower as a constant reminder of how Hawaii is at the very basic, pivotal spot of our defense system as it was then, on that fateful day, as it is now. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Chairman.
Senator.
I must ask, courtesy of the chair, to excuse this humble senator. I leave it in good hands, and it has been a memorable experience for me to join here once again and with this distinguished committee. I predict
Yes.
that you will resolve this issue,
Yes.
members of the Congress, and it'll be looked upon as one of your finest hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Warner. We appreciate that.
I appreciate your question, but God bless. Good to see you. Mr. Hunter has discussed it far better than I. But I look up at the portrait of my old friend Bob Stump, and I recall walking around on Ford Island with him and how he was telling me what happened here and what happened there, and the ramp that the PBYs came up, and this was during the war. And I hope whatever you do there, and I'm very much supportive, will be a tribute to the Bob Stumps in this world for the efforts that they did in that moment of American greatness.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the plug for Ford Island. Thank you, Mr. Chair.